Hey there, welcome to PIMS training. This video is to provide you a general overview of the different areas within PIMS. It's really just to familiarize you with where things are located. Anytime that you open PIMS, you will automatically be dropped onto the calendar view, already filtered to you, so you can see this is filtered to me right now. For the tour of this program, I'm going to use the Layouts drop-down menu and review the areas from top to bottom. So the first area we encounter is Settings. Here, all of the staffing lists are maintained, and also staff IDs are automatically assigned. Project milestone, I should say, are the only ones that we use right now, but project milestone templates and email templates are created and live in this area. Additionally, the retailer and vehicle name lists are maintained here, and you'll see in later videos where these are applied, but if you have new retailers, you can add them here. If you have additional vehicles that you need referenced, you can add them here. The next area we run into is Contacts. Here you can find your standard address book information, phone, email, address, as well as information that is specific to that particular contact with regard to his or her projects. So in this window right here, you can see these are all the events that are that are owned by projects that are owned by PAMRO. So you can see all of these events right here. You can add additional information to this contact. We do now have a mobile here, but if you had another address, like a personal address, or if they worked remotely, you can add it here. And here you've got all of their projects. These two tabs that you see are, number one, the customer projects. That's where Pam, in this case, is the owner of the project. So if we went to this first test project, you can see she is the main contact on this project. Team projects is where she is referenced as a team member on that project. So she may not be the owner, like for instance, this one came in from Bel Air Lighting, but Pam was the contact at Lowe's with whom we worked on this program. So that in that case, she is a team member only. So you can see both the projects for which she owns and she is a team member. Obviously, this blank is exactly what it says. It is blank. You don't need to worry about it. So the next area we run into is companies. And here it's the same type of thing, just from the company level. Rather than the specific contact, you're at the broader company. So within this particular company, Hanes Brands, you have all of these different contacts. And if you're going to jump to any of these, if you were to look at any of these contacts, you can see that it brings you right back to that contact details page. So here is where the broader information regarding the company is stored. We try to make sure that we are populating the logos where we can. You find a listing of all the contacts within the company, all of the events and projects that are associated with this company. So take a second to pop up, but you'll see again, just like in the contact page where it had a summary of events that belong to that contact, this is a summary of events that belong to this company. So where this might come in handy is if you have a salesperson for Hanes Brands that comes to you and says, hey, I want to see all of my projects and I want to know the status of all of them. You can go in and filter on these and find a list for that particular salesperson. More on that later. You can also see all of the projects that are attributed to this company. Many of our companies have different contacts for different branches or different purchasing groups, but this will collect them all into the single company so that you can see everything that's going on with that particular company. We also have the ability to create product libraries for our customers, which we are in the process of doing. Excuse me, this is the wrong tab. This is the correct tab. But what we do here is we add all of the products, and then I will show you in later videos how that is maintained. This items tab, I'll tell you, it's not really used. It is something that we were playing with, and that's why you see information in this particular company, but we're not really using it at this point, so you don't really need to do anything there. I'm going to skip over one, but you also have the ability to house all the different brands that might be under this company. So you can see Hanes has a lot of brands underneath its umbrella. So you can house those here. We also have templates for specific companies sometimes if we want to make slides for them. You can build a program that will easily reference a number of BOMs. Where this might come in handy is if you have, say, a Christmas program that is over not just one company, but a number of companies. You can create a program for 2018 Christmas and attach all of those BOMs to that program, regardless of the company it's in. So you will be able to collect those and easily reference them. Builds is a blank tab right now, so you don't need to worry about that. And value lists, these are not created here, but you can view value lists for promotions, organization types, and product attributes that are specific to that company. Not necessarily specific to that contact or that project, but this is something that's overall specific to the company. So for instance, Hanes Brands, they have back to school promotions. They have Blitz, which is very often the Black Friday type promotions, Father's Day promotions. Their organization has different categories: socks, underwear, casual wear. For things like Mars Chocolate, it might be IDM versus national. Every customer is going to have a different way of breaking down their organization. Product attributes, those are things that are specific to their different product brands. So for instance, in the casual wear for t-shirts, they have Comfort Blend, X-Temp, so on and so forth. What I skipped over, these two tabs, payment authorizations and vendors. So if the company listed here is a vendor, this is where we will pay the bills for this company. These payment authorizations are created here, and that's where we get the paperwork that we need to send to corporate in order to pay our bills. The vendor, this is where you can designate what kind of vendor the company is. So just say you are entering a company, or you have a company entered already that is a digital printer. You can select them as a printing vendor, and then you have the ability to sort or find. So you can always do a find function, clicking find, selecting printing, hitting enter, and then you will get all of the companies that are currently in the system with the vendor type listed as printing. This is a really, really good search mechanism when you're looking for outside vendors. The next area is projects. Some of these are self-explanatory, but we're just overviewing right now. So as you would imagine, all the details associated with the specific project live in this area. Project teams are made. Pertinent files and photos, reference files are added to the project. Notifications are recorded. The bill of material is created. The schedule is created. Time can be entered. We can invoice against any customer. So let's just say that we had made some mock-ups that we charged for. We had to create an invoice in order to bill Bel Air Lighting. It would be done here. And orders can also be generated. As I'll explain a little bit further down the road in another video, we currently manipulate the system in this orders area in order to give us quotes that we can send to customers, and also to be able to write purchase orders that we can give to our outside vendors who require them. So you may have noticed by now that there's somewhat of a hierarchy of information, and as we get into the project level, we've drilled down to where a lot more specifics are entered for that particular project, which makes sense. So you have the 50,000 foot view at the company level, then you have a contact within that company, and now you have a project that belongs to that contact. But there are two areas within the project itself where it's important to be very specific and detailed, and where all of the deliverable specifics are entered. These two areas are the bill of material and the schedule. So we'll hit the schedule first. This is where we are entering all of the tasks for the operators within a design center to be able to work and give us what we need to present to the customer. Whatever that deliverable is, it should be listed in here. This area drives work within the design center. So for instance, if we are looking at this particular program, and actually I'm going to find a different project. We've got this sun care display that we just did recently. And so if we look at the schedule for this, you can see we had die lines, we had renderings, we needed to have a rough bill of material, white cut, another rough bill of material for changes that were made. So you can see how this is driving the work into the design center. What you're able to do is you create an event for that deliverable. You want to bullet out the details for all of the things that they need to do. This is what the operator uses as somewhat of a checklist. Have I accomplished 1? Have I accomplished 2? Have I accomplished 3? So on and so forth. That's how you're going to ensure that you get what you have promised to the customer. We want to break it down into this bulleted format because you don't just want to put a paragraph from an email in there. You want to decipher the information, drill it down, and make it very easy for them to understand what it is they have to do. You can also attach documents to this. As long as the documents are in the files and photos area of the overview. So let me go here and show you very quickly. Files and photos. So we have 3 documents that were pertinent to this particular project. And as long as they are listed in the files and photos area, you can physically attach them and reference them to the specific event. So if, for instance, in this rendering task, I had an example of artwork that they wanted to see or a specific logo they wanted to see, I might attach it to this event and reference it in my bulleted list saying, customer would like the logo attached on the Documents tab to be included in the graphics you are doing for the rendering. Something of that nature. But you have these project name automatically imports for you, the ID automatically imports for you, the contact imports for you. The summary, that's where you add a very short description of what the deliverable might be. The description is where you put your bulleted description of how to get that deliverable. But here is where you can also assign the staff members, where you set the status, what resource it is, what the dates are. So the beginning date, which is when it just says date, that's the date that you are entering the task. And then the end date is the due date. If you have a specific time that the end date must be completed, for instance, say somebody is coming in to pick up a mock-up at noon, you want to put it in the description at the very top with an asterisk saying, customer will be picking up at noon, need to have this ready by 11:30 a.m. The reason is that we cannot necessarily set a time for the due date. Down here, when you're entering a task, unless you're entering it for yourself and you know this information, but this is where the user who has been assigned to this task is going to make their commitment as to when they're going to work on it. So in this case, Courtney said that she was going to start at 2:30 p.m. What we want her to do, she should have put in an end time saying, basically it's where she's going in and she's saying, okay, you know what, I'm looking at this here, I think this is going to take me an hour and a half. So if she forecasted an hour and a half, 1.5 hours, we want her to do that because then we can take a look at what her day looks like and actually correctly analyze the capacity that she may have. But she may also say, okay, you know, I've got 5 other tasks that I got to deal with. I'm going to go ahead and plan to start this at 2:30, and I think I'll be done by 4:30. Now, you'll notice that there is a little extra time in there, but that's okay. The reason that you're doing that is because maybe she's throwing a buffer in there because she knows she's going to have a meeting at 3 o'clock that she needs to account for. That it doesn't matter. These don't necessarily have to correlate perfectly. So that's where the events live. The BOM, as you can imagine, is where we have even more specific details about the project. And you can even say that this is the most specific area, particularly when the BOM has been marked as approved for production. Initially, what we're doing is we're just loading up or uploading bills of material, and they may be preliminary. You see there are some obsoleted versions here. We might have had to do pricing on several different iterations. But once we get to the approved for production stage, this is where we will actually be setting the final details of the project. We'll go into type. We have to select what kind of display it is, maybe the time of year, maybe the promotion type, what kind of product is in this display, what's the lifespan of the display. You might not have anything to check in some of these boxes, but at least one of these, the display type, will always need to be checked. So bear that in mind. Also bear in mind that these are searchable fields. So if you wanted to do a find and get shown all of the bills of material for any possible Halloween display that's been marked as a Halloween type display, you can do that. Again, same with these areas all throughout here. This is going to be very, very powerful once we start populating this information. You might remember when I was showing you in the company page, the attributes tab that was all the way to the right-hand side, promo, organization, product attribute. That's where these details are entered, and the list of all the different types of promos, organizations, and attributes that are attributed to that particular company compile in that company list. So for this particular one, the promotion was a sun care promotion. There was no organization, but we could say it was the health and beauty portion that generated it. And the product attribute we could say was sun care because that was the main product on it. We can also set the specific retailer and even the location within the store. So for this case, it was in the grocery channel, it was in Food Lion, and we also knew that it was being placed in the medicine section. This is a free field to type in. We have the ability to create product mixes for what we have specifically designed to. When we get to an approved for production status, we should absolutely be setting the product mix. What this does is create a history of what that specific display was designed to hold. Obviously, the bomb that's been imported from Impact will live here. The size and weight, this needs to be entered by the structural designer that's completing their bill of material. They're going to set what the display type is. Whoops, sorry. The component weight will actually come over automatically from the bill of material. The total product weight will come from the product mix page, and then it will sum them up for you. This dimensional information is stuff that needs to be entered by the structural designer as well. It's assembled with and without pallet and shipping with and without pallet. The cubic feet automatically calculates. The evaluation tab is not yet developed. However, this is where we're going to put in some of our testing information. You'll notice, however, on the palletization, we do have some testing information here. So some of this might move locations, but for right now, where that lives is in the palletization of the bill of material. Shippers per layer, layers per pallet, so on and so forth. It'll calculate this stuff out. We can say, hey, in the warehouse, we know they're going to single stack it, but in the DC, we know they're going to double stack it, so on and so forth. This is where the designer will record their testing results. We will also create instruction sheets here, both for in-plant and in-store. And reports and images is where we can create a nice little package of information for any given project that will print out a picture, a variety of different types of lists, where graphics will be uploading final renderings or professional photo shots of the display itself. So if we go back up to our list here, the invoices, the more projects area is where you can run a variety of reports. You can play with this. You're not going to break anything. I'm not going to go through the individual reports now, but we have an active projects report. There's a more specific design activity report menu. We do have the ability to create and search for slides within this area, which I'll show you in another video. And we also have a location, retailer, and BOM list that you can look up. The invoices is a collection of all the invoices that have been issued out of the system. Unpaid invoices, which you can see right here, and which may also fall. Yep. So in this little subfolder, there's the unpaid invoices. It's just another showing of this list over here. Right now, these are not commonly used in the design center for any type of monitoring or anything like that. However, if you chose to maintain this, you certainly could and know where your invoices are. As you can see, we still have a lot that are showing unpaid, and I doubt they are because we would have gotten a nasty gram to go ahead and correct that. The problem with maintaining this is that we don't always know when payment has been received. So really this just ends up being a listing of everything we have invoiced for out of the design center. So that's also useful sometimes as well. The time is where you can add the hours that you've put into a specific task, and you can do this by user. This is different from within the event tab where you have it, or the project tab for time, where you're entering project or time for a specific project. In this area, just say you were entering your time at the end of the day, you can go in and just create a series of time events rather than going to those individual projects. So if I knew on today I went in and I did these training videos, so I can add 3 hours. I would have to select my project, which if you click in that box, it will give you a drop-down menu eventually. There we go. I could pick a project, then I can say this is project management, or I could say it's training, and then I could say video creation. So I'd be entering my time for that. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that because I'm not ready to enter my time. But you can record it from this as a collective for your day. So you can enter 4 or 5 things at once. You can also browse and see what we're working on. You can see all the different projects. These puts them in, you can do a search, and then you can chart it. You can see what everybody's been working on. And it's not working for me right now. I apologize. We're going to go ahead and close it. But you can, when you have information in there in a good solid format, you can chart it either on a bar chart or a pie chart. And then we have the calendar portal, which is, you should all be very familiar with this, but as I mentioned when we started, when it automatically opens up every day, it's going to filter to you, but you can filter on any set of resources or on any set of people within any location. You can select various locations. As long as they are highlighted, you can go back and forth from, Marston doesn't exist anymore, from location to location and select everybody you want to see. So you'll see that those 3 people are now in my, you don't see any events because we don't have any events scheduled to us right now. But that is the calendar view. You can also look at it in a day view, a week view, a month view, a year view, which if we are lucky, we know when things are happening during the year. You can look at it in a grid, and you can look at it on a Gantt chart. When you're looking at several different projects at once, the Gantt chart is a very neat way to look at it. Now we're looking at this. So the filtered events portal, I am not going to click on this. This is actually going to be removed from the layout menu because if you do click it, it will just shut down the system. There's no need for you to click it. Don't worry about it. Ignore it. It will eventually go away. The planogram detail is where all of those product mixes that I showed you we would be entering for approved bills of material for production. Those product mixes can either be created here, or when you if you created it in the project and you saved it, it would live here. They are all assigned automatically a unique ID identifier. You can give the planogram name anything you want. The description can be something meaningful to you, and then you would go ahead and add your products to the planogram. And finally, the learnings list houses a cumulative and searchable list of all submitted learnings within PIMS, whether they be proactive, preventative learnings, the actual things where we are learning something, or something that required a corrective action due to an error or something happening. You can search in this area, as I mentioned, just by entering what you want to see. So if we want to see, I want to see all of the learnings or corrective actions we've had for Snyder's Lance, you can just type that in using the find and you'll get them all back. So I hope you found this video helpful. As always, you can contact me, Allison Reed, with any specific questions at areid@packagingcorp.com or 704-560-4326. Thanks.